Let's get into the nuts and bolts of the things that you're going to need to actually produce this podcast, starting with gear. And gear can be one of the things that really overwhelms people when they're first starting a podcast. So I'm just going to give you a shopping list of things to buy. So the first thing you'll need is a microphone. You don't want to use the microphone on your phone or, on your laptop. It's not going to be the high quality that you want to represent your company. The microphone I recommend is the Samson Q2U. You can find it on Amazon for less than $70 typically, and it comes with everything you need. It comes with a microphone, comes with a little stand, comes with a USB cable so you can plug it right in your computer, and it comes with an XLR cable, which is a traditional analog kind of music cable that can be helpful if you have more people that you're recording in the same place. And I'm going to talk about that here in a second. But that microphone is the perfect beginning podcast microphone. Are there others that you can pursue? Sure. Are there more expensive models that you can buy and give you some measure of increased audio quality? Sure, but nothing that you'll notice. The Samson Q2U sound quality is just as good to the average listener as those really high-end multi-$100 microphones. So just get the Q2U, don't even think twice about it, and you're good to go. Now, you'll also want a set of headphones, so that way when you are recording interviews or you're setting up and getting ready to record your solo episode, you can hear yourself in your microphone to know that all your audio levels are good, that you're getting a good strong signal, that the guest has the right microphone input selected, all that kind of stuff, and just be able to continuously monitor your sound. Any headphones will do. It can just be a pair that you have lying around. It could be those Apple earbuds, which also have a little microphone in them if your guest is in a pinch and doesn't have one. But any headphones will do, but you'll definitely want to get a pair of headphones to help with monitoring your sound. Now, if you are recording multiple people in the same place, so let's say that you're doing in-person interviews at your company's office building, you will need an audio interface. So laptops and computers in general do not work well when you are plugging multiple USB microphones into them. There are some workarounds, but they're not very reliable. And so instead what you want to use is a USB interface where it takes multiple microphones with XLR cables and then shoots out a USB cable that you can plug into your computer and record with. And the interface that I recommend is the Audient Evo 8. Again, I'll leave links to all this gear in the show notes if you want to go and check it out. It's $200 and it can take up to 4 microphones. So you don't have to worry about, hey, we have an episode where we want to interview 2 guests and the interface that we chose only had 2 microphone inputs. Just get this one interface. It's $200, give you 4 mic inputs, and you'll be set. You won't have to worry about it at all. I should say that you should buy a Samson Q2U for every person that's going to consistently be on the podcast. And so if you are consistently going to be doing interviews in person at your office, get 2 Samson Q2Us or get 3 of them. If you have multiple people and you're going to be recording from different places, each from your home offices, and you're going to record over the internet, we're going to talk about that here in a second, then send every person a Samson Q2U. But you don't necessarily need an audio interface. It's just, if you're trying to plug in multiple microphones into the same laptop at the same time, you'll need this interface. And then if you have some extra budget and you want to get the most out of your Q2U, I highly recommend also buying a boom arm, which is what I use to basically hold up my microphone and put it right next to my mouth so I can get really crisp audio quality. And the one that I use, the one that I recommend, is the Rode PSA-1 boom arm. It's a fantastic boom arm. It'll run you about $100. And so it is an accessory that's a nice to have. It's not exactly cheap, but it's really well built. I've had mine for, I think, 5 years and have had no problems with it. You can buy cheaper ones, but they typically will wear and tear pretty quickly and will start to get squeaky on you, which is not what you want for audio quality purposes. So that's one that I recommend, but don't feel like you have to have it. It's just a nice add-on if you want to get the most out of your Q2U. So that's all the gear that you need. Microphone, Samson Q2U, any pair of headphones you have laying around. If you're recording multiple people in the same place, you'll need an audio interface like the Audient Evo 8. And if you have some extra money to throw towards some gear, get a boom arm for your microphones. That's all you need. That's literally all that you need to start a podcast. But what about video? If you're doing a video podcast, you can start with your phone. iPhones and Google Pixels have pretty fantastic cameras nowadays. You can just set it up in landscape mode, so horizontal, and just record the video at the same time that you're recording the audio. Or if you're doing long distance interviews with people over Zoom, for instance, you can just record the video with your webcam, and that's a perfectly fine place to start. Again, this is about starting. a branded podcast. You can get more professional down the road, but as far as gear to get started with video, just use a camera that you already have, whether it's your cell phone or a webcam that you can use to record your episodes. Now, once you have all that gear, how do you actually record your episodes? What do you need to do that? What kind of software do you need? So if you're recording either a solo podcast or you're recording an in-person interview, then you'll want to use an audio software like GarageBand, which is an Apple-specific software. So if you have a MacBook, GarageBand already comes on your computer more than likely, or Audacity, which is a free software that you can download that works on Windows computers, Apple computers, and even Linux machines, if you're one of the 4 people in the world that uses Linux. And when you open up that software, it'll ask you to select your microphone inputs, your audio outputs, which would be your headphones, and then you can start and stop your recordings. And you can record all the microphones into that software and capture your audio episode. If you're recording in different places though, so let's say that you are at your home office and you want to record a guest that's on the other side of the country, it doesn't quite make sense to fly out there for the episode to do that interview. You can use software like Zoom or Google Meets if you already have those software options available to you, if you already have subscriptions to those. But if you want that high quality audio that's really going to set your podcast apart, I recommend Riverside.fm, where for between $20 and $25 a month, you can get super crisp, high quality audio over the internet. That's what I use when I record interviews for this podcast. It also records video. So if you end up doing YouTube and doing a video podcast, you can also use it for recording the video portion as well. So that's the software that I recommend. And again, all the links are in the show notes below and in the guide that there is a link to if you want it all in a simple checklist that you can use to start your podcast. Okay, so that's how you're going to record. You're just going to use some software, whether it's local on your computer or an internet-based software like Zoom or Riverside. And then once you have recorded your episode, how do you edit it? How do you polish it up to kind of cut the beginning and the end off, remove any pieces in the middle that you don't want to make it into the final episode? How do you do that? How do you accomplish that? Well, the software that we use to record typically will also allow you to edit. So Audacity and GarageBand, both free softwares that allow you to cut pieces and move things around and add music and things like that. So you can use those softwares to do that. And when you're thinking about music for your podcast, because typically you want to find a music file that jives with the vibe and the feel of your show, that reflects kind of the personality of your business. You want to choose something from what's called a royalty-free music website. So rather than choosing an Ariana Grande track or a Taylor Swift track or a Brad Paisley track, you would have to pay royalties to those recording labels every time you used it, which makes your podcast prohibitively expensive. So rather than doing that, you want to go to a website like Soundstripe or Epidemic Sound, where you can purchase the rights to use a track in perpetuity without paying a royalty, hence royalty-free, and you don't have to worry about getting sued or taken down from platforms like Spotify and YouTube. So when you're editing your podcast episodes and trying to figure out like how do you add music, that's the kind of music you want to go for. But then ultimately, what I encourage most businesses to do is to outsource editing your podcast. The reason being that you want your time to be spent growing your business, getting more clients, and increasing the efficiency of your team to increase profits. That is enough work in and of itself. You don't need to also become an audio editing expert. It's a much better use of your time to focus on building your company versus editing a podcast. And so there are podcast production agencies like mine, Honest Podcasts, that work with companies, take those files that you've recorded in Audacity, GarageBand, Riverside, or Zoom, and edit all the episodes, create show notes, social media promotional graphics, thumbnails for YouTube, all of that. So if you're interested in potentially working with me, you can go to the link in the description below and set up a time. We can get on a strategy call and kind of talk through what that would look like. But ultimately, you want to have a budget set aside to edit your podcast episodes with a podcast production agency. That's going to be the best bang for your buck as a branded podcast, because you're going to get better quality, because it's not going to sound like somebody just trying to figure out how to edit an audio file for the first time. So you want it to really reflect your brand well. And it's going to be cheaper than bringing it in-house. So for me, in my company, our packages start at $1,500 a month to do everything, all the editing, all the publishing, show notes, social media materials, all that kind of stuff. if you were to hire someone with that skill set for your company, you're looking at least $50,000 or $60,000 in salary, plus benefits, plus taxes. So significantly more expensive. Well, hey there. I hope you enjoyed that clip from the Honest Marketing Podcast. If you want to watch the entire episode, you can click right here and watch it right now. And don't forget to subscribe to the YouTube channel so you get new videos every single week.